Wiring instructions. Now we will see the procedure for wiring. Before we put the flow meter into operation, please follow these instructions for connecting cables. For power cable, 3-core 1.5 square mm PVC or PTFE sheathed cable. For signal output, 2-core 1.0 square mm PVC or PTFE sheathed cable. For coil and electrodes in case of remote type flow meter as supplied with flow tube. Never extend the coil and electrodes cable by joining another cable. Use ferrules for each wire and crimp the ends of the conductors with appropriate cable lugs. Pass the cable through the cable gland and terminate it onto the appropriate terminals. Ensure that the cable is tightly terminated and cable glands are tightened fully. Run the different sets of cables into the transmitter as follows. Set 1 for power and relay outputs. Set 2 for coil and electrodes. Set 3 current output, digital input, digital output RS485. Follow standard instrumentation guidelines for routing and terminating the cables. Power supply wiring instruction. Read the operating power supply voltage indicated on the nameplate or tag plate and confirm that the available power supply matches the transmitter's requirements. Now unscrew the rear cover of the transmitter and check the terminal sticker provided on back side of the transmitter cover. Now locate power supply terminal on the PCB and connect the correct power supply cable to correct terminals. In case of AC power supply, please check nameplate or flow meter first. If it is mentioned as 80 to 300 volt AC, then connect live wire to L marked terminal, neutral wire to N marked terminal and earth to E terminal. In case of DC power supply, please check nameplate again. If it is mentioned as 12 to 60 volt DC, then connect positive of DC power to L marked terminal and negative of DC power to N marked terminal. The E terminal here remains unused. Make the other field connections to the terminal as indicated. Note that the coils and electrodes are internally pre-wired for integral version. Refer to the tabular information provided in the installation manual for a description of the terminals. Remote transmitter wiring instructions. In the case of a remote type flow meter, only a junction box comes pre-mounted on top of the flow tube. The transmitter is mounted on the mounting bracket separately. Unscrew the top cover of the junction box. Check that the supplied coil and electrode cable is firmly connected to the terminals as indicated. Read the operating power supply voltage indicated on the nameplate and confirm that the available power supply matches the transmitter's requirement. Make the field connections to the terminals as indicated in the image. Refer to the tabular information provided in the installation manual for a description of the terminals. Connect the other end of the supplied coil and electrode cable to the electrodes E1, E2, G, PE and coils C1, C2 terminals in the transmitter. Match the ferrule markings of the supplied cable to the terminal markings in the transmitter. The maximum permissible length of the cable is 50 meters. Never extend the coil and electrode cable by joining other cable. If a longer length cable is required, then existing cable to be removed and full length single piece cable to be installed by removing the IP68 potting in the sensor, soldering it and repotting as per the IP requirements. Output wiring instructions. Make all the connections for the outputs as applicable to your flow meter, such as 4 to 20 mA DC, RS485, heart, pulse, relay, etc. Grounding rings are used to suppress electrical interference at the installation location for electromagnetic flow meters. Use of grounding rings significantly reduces electrical noise and may be necessary for proper operation of electromagnetic flow meters installed. The recommended grounding of conductive pipes with grounding rings should be as per the figure shown. After making all the connections, inspect and confirm that the O-ring or gasket of the rear cover is appropriately seated and is not damaged. Then align its threads properly against those of the transmitter. Engage the threads, rotate and fix the cover by screwing it completely till the O-ring is effectively compressed. This will prevent any ingress of moisture or water into the transmitter enclosure. Inspect and confirm that the gasket of the junction box cover is appropriately seated and is not damaged. Powering up the flow meter. Confirm that installation has been done and completed as described in the manual provided. Then the flow meter is ready for operational use. Switch on the main power to the transmitter. The transmitter is delivered duly calibrated and configured for the range of flow rate measurement as ordered by you. Allow the process liquid to start flowing through the flow tube. Ensure that the flow rate is within the specified limits for the flow meter. Excessive flow rate could damage the flow tube lining. The flow meter will start indicating the flow rate and driving the current output proportional to the flow rate.